Hello children, welcome to your English class. Today we'll see a new lesson, the summit within. Summit means the highest point on a mountain. But here the title is the summit within. It is about the mountain that is within ourselves. Surprised? Let's go in detail about the lesson so we will know what kind of summit or a mountain peak is there within us. We will know. In fact, the present piece of lesson is all about Major HPS Ahluwalia's account of his journey to the summit of Mount Everest and his experiences and his feelings and emotions upon reaching the summit of Mount Everest. And Ahluwalia was in fact one of the members of the first successful Indian expedition to Mount Everest in the year 1965. So when he stood on the highest point in the world, that is on the summit of Mount Everest, how he felt, we're going to see in this lesson. Ahluwalia says that finally, when he reached the summit of Everest successfully, usually we all would expect that a sense of great victory, a feel of elation, a great joy one would feel upon being successful. So here Ahluwalia says, of all different kinds of emotions, whatever he felt on that day, looking over miles of panorama below them, the dominant one he thought was humility. Means when he reached upon the top of Mount Everest and standing there, when he looked around in all 360 degrees, then he could see how vast and big nature in its size. Then he felt the strong emotion of humility, means how simple and small I am, how simple and small we human beings before this vast and big gigantic nature. His body was telling to him, thank God it's all over, because climbing to the summit of Mount Everest is not that easy job. It requires a lot of stress and strain, and there was he should feel when he was successful in reaching the summit of Mount Everest, there should be some sort of jubilant sense, very cheerful, happy because of his success. That happiness, that feel of happiness should be there. But in fact, he felt a little sad. Why? He himself didn't know but he suggests it might be because, as a mountaineer, as a climber, now he reached on the top of Mount Everest, which is the highest mountain in the world. So now there won't be any other more challenging task before him as a mountain climber, because Everest itself is the highest mountain in the world, and he climbed upon it very successfully, and he stood on the summit of Mount Everest victorious. But the main and strong emotion what he got upon reaching the top, from there when he looked at the vast nature, he felt how simple and negligible we human beings are before this nature. Usually when you climb the summit of Everest, you're overwhelmed by a deep sense of joy and thankfulness. It's a joy that can remain a lifetime. The experiences changes you completely. The experience of climbing up Mount Everest or any mountain, that changes your attitude completely. A climber who has climbed a mountain will never be all the same again in his attitude. After reaching the summit of Mount Everest and standing there victorious, when he thought about his life back, he would like to mention the summit he carried, the summit that looked unsurmountable, that looked the summit or the top point, the highest point of the mountain within himself. What is this mountain? Can we have mountains within us? Yes, we all have different kinds of mountains in us. These mountains are the psychological obstacles or the hurdles that we keep always in our mind, and we keep worry about them. And according to Ahluwalia, climbing the summit of the mountain within ourselves is no less than climbing up a mountain like Everest. Even while getting down from the summit, once the physical exhaustion had gone, he began asking himself the question why he had climbed Everest. Why? The act of reaching the summit had such a hold on his imagination. He reached the summit or reached the top of Mount Everest, which is the summit of Mount Everest. From there, he started walking down, climbing down the Mount Everest. Even then, the emotional feel, the success of reaching the summit of Mount Everest is also still rings in his mind. What all the physical tiredness is no longer exists in body, still he could feel that weight of the climbing mountain in his mind. Why? Because all these days and months he wanted to climb up the Mount Everest, and now he climbed it, and even a day passed after that, and still, and with every passing day, it would become more and more remote. The experience slowly would fade away from the mind of a climber. And then what would remain? Would my memories fade away slowly? He thought. Then he questioned himself why people climb mountains. And Ahluwalia personally feels it's not an easy answer. It's not easy to answer the question because it's a difficult question as he feels, and the easiest or the simplest answer could be because it is there. Why do we climb mountains? Because mountain is there, so we climbed on it. And it presents difficulties. A mountain gives us so many challenges on the way to reach its summit. And we people enjoy overcoming those challenges and obstacles. There we find the kick or the delight or the happiness. And a climb to a summit, climbing a mountain is not just a physical. It means it requires a lot of what you call mental skills like endurance. You need patience, persistence, the attitude of sticking to the job until it is finished, and a great willpower, strong willpower. Unless a person demonstrate these three qualities in him, what are those three qualities? Endurance, persistence, and willpower. Without having these three qualities, no person can climb a mountain. And of course, if a person has climbed onto any mountain or the summit of any mountain, that means he had these great skills. And having these great qualities in him is a thing of joy and exhilaration. But Ahluwalia has his own answer that is more personal. Right from his childhood, he developed a special interest in mountains. They have been always a great attraction to him. And whenever he had to move away from the mountain regions, he felt miserable and he felt lost. It is Ahluwalia's opinion that mountains are nature's best form of beauty. The beauty of nature can be seen at its best in the form of mountains. Their beauty and majesty, the way they stand so high, causing a great challenge to the climbers. And Ahluwalia believes that climbing up mountains is nothing but communion with God, meeting with God. The experience with mountains, climbing up those mountains, overcoming obstacles presented by them. All that is a spiritual journey, and reaching the summit of a mountain is reaching or meeting with God. And then he asked himself, then why I have chosen Mount Everest? He had many reasons for his choice. Mount Everest is the highest mountain in the world. It is the mightiest, the biggest one, with all its difficulties, challenges to be faced by the climber. And it is the Mount Everest that failed so many previous attempts by the climbers. Mount Everest, unlike the other mountains, it takes the last ounce of the climber's energy. In words of Ahluwalia, climbing Mount Everest is very brutal struggle with rock and ice. The climber has to do a lot of struggle with the rocky surface of mountain and with the ice that covers Mount Everest. And there is another interesting thing about climbing up Mount Everest, that in the middle of the way, if any climber wants to withdraw from his mission and wants to get down, he cannot do so. Why? Even climbing down Mount Everest is as difficult as climbing up. So, if you're already there in the halfway down, halfway up the mountain, then there is no meaning to cancel or to change your mind and come back. It is equally dangerous. So, with all these difficulties and the challenges that it poses, Ahluwalia has got a lot of interest in climbing up Mount Everest. And once reaching the summit of Mount Everest, one would feel like a great victory, or one would feel that he had won a great battle. That victory itself is like winning a very tough battle. And he says that joy is mystical. The beauty, the aloofness, the way it stands out from the other mountains, the might, its strength, ruggedness, its disorder of the mountain Everest, and the difficulties encountered on the way, all these challenges uh, have made Ahluwalia more and more interested, drawing himself towards the summit. And if you ask him, why have you climbed Mount Everest? It would be something like asking him, why you breathe? Why do we breathe? Without breathing, just we can't live. The same he feels. Without climbing Mount Everest, there is no meaning in life. So, the Everest is not just a physical climb. It's not a matter of physical strength, but it requires a lot of mental strength. The man who has been to the mountain top becomes conscious in a special manner of his own smallness in this large universe. Upon reaching the Mount Everest, he has realized to a greater extent that how small man is in the large universe created by God. The physical conquest of a mountain is only one part of the achievement. There is more to it than that. It is not just a physical conquest, means physically reaching the top of the mountain itself is not the total achievement or the success. There is more than that. It is a sense of fulfillment. There is a satisfaction of a deep urge to rise above one's surroundings. It all gives us a mental training how to overcome challenges in the life. It is an emotional experience. It is spiritual. Uh, Consider a typical climb towards the summit on the last heights. You're sharing a rope with another climber. He cuts the steps in the hard ice. Then he belays, and you inch your way up. The climb is grim. You strain every nerve as you take every step. The way, inch by inch, step by step, each and every step that they take ahead up towards the summit of the Mount Everest is a battle itself. Many famous climbers, they had the records in their account, uh, help given by others. They have also recorded how they needed just that help. It is not just impossible a solo climber to reach the top of Mount Everest. If you see the records of any climber, they would definitely mention the help received from the fellow climbers. Otherwise, without that help, no climber could have been successful. It is something like encouraging one another, motivating each other. All would undergo the same experience, sometimes a greater energy and sometimes a feeling why we have uh, come on this mission of climbing this mountain. It is nothing but life and death issue like that. But climbers, they encourage one another, they motivate one another, they help one another, and thus, inch by inch, step by step, they dare to go up the mountain. But finally, when you reach the top of the mountain, it is worthwhile for all. You feel that uh, it's really worth for all the efforts I have put. Yes, for all the hard work I did. Reaching this summit, reaching the top of this mountain is really worth all my efforts and hard work. Standing on the peak, standing on the summit of a mountain and watching all the other surrounding mountains that are covered with silvery ice, almost touching the clouds. And if you are lucky, even you can get the sunrise and over them the golden color. It would be like something, a beautiful necklace or something, a jewel necklace around the neck of the summit you could see. And there will be many valleys and all in the distance, and it's a great experience. And it's something like, it is a great experience, and once you reach the top, you definitely submit yourself to God for His abundant blessings upon you, who made you successful on your mission. He, Ahluwalia, left a picture of Guru Nanak, and another climber, Rawat, he left a picture of Goddess Durga, and Fudorji, another climber, left a relic of Buddha. So these are all, they have their own faiths and religion. And Hillary had buried a cross under a cairn, a heap of rocks and stones in the snow. These are not symbols of conquest, but of reference. Why they have left those the photos or the images or the relics of their religions? It is not to show that they are show their pride or success, but They kept them on there. It's a thanksgiving to the God because He has helped them to be successful in their mission. So, on the whole, Ahluwalia makes it clear once you climb up a mountain, it changes you completely in your mind. Because then you would understand climbing up a mountain is just a physical one. But before that, before you climb a mountain physically, you need to climb up a mountain that is within yourself. That is, it might be the fear, it might be the doubt, it might be some sort of dragging back. So one has to overcome and reach the summit of it. And he feels that a person must has to climb the inner mountain with gaining more and more knowledge of himself. The more you try to know yourself, the more you overcome all your fears and all. And this is the typical mountain. No other person can reach the summit of your mountain. You have to reach the top of the mountain that is there in your mind. Whether you're climbing the mountain of Everest outside or you're climbing the mountain that is within your mind are equally difficult, and they need equal qualities in you. Climbing up a mountain physically and climbing the mountain that is there within your mind, both, they teach you much about the world and about yourself. Then he thinks that reaching the top of the mountain that is within himself is uh, equally valid to that of reaching the top of Mount Everest. Sometimes he feels the inner mountains that are there in our mind are even the toughest and the highest and the mightiest than Everest. It's all about the summit within.